Hello. For people who don't know you, Helen, what is it that you do?
So the clue's in the wall, really. I help people get creative. So I love helping people start their creative journey. I'm really good at getting beginners in and drawing and painting and just enjoying a bit of time to create.
Was it always art for you? How did you get to this point of helping people create?
So I was a school teacher. I did that for about 15 years. I taught lots of teenagers how to get creative. I've always loved creativity, music, drawing, painting, any kind of creative thinking, I suppose. And when I left teaching about 9 years ago, my daughters were really small, 1 and 3, when I left teaching, I needed to do something creative that would also fulfill my kind of creativity, my teaching desire, but also that would be a flexible kind of work from home style career. So I started teaching in here.
And when you were teaching in schools, teaching art as well?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's always been art all the way through?
Yeah.
Was that something that you had to find, or did you just find it as a kid yourself you were in the mix?
So I always loved art. I did art at school. As many art courses as I could do at school, I did them. And then I did art history at uni. I went to Italy for a year, studied art in Rome, which was pretty good. Although in Italian universities, a lot of lectures were cancelled quite a lot. So we'd go around loads of art galleries and just experience lots of art and culture. And then, just carried on, became a teacher, and then to my own school now.
Amazing. And cancelled because of the stereotypical people just having a cigarette and a coffee on the street?
And strikes, mainly.
Okay. Yeah. And were you learning in Italian? So Italian language?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was an interesting year. Very challenging year, but really cool as well.
The scene in Good Will Hunting where Robin Williams' character gives Matt Damon's character Will Hunting a bit of a dressing down and says, look, kid, you think you know everything, but what you read in a book isn't the same as the experience of it. You've not been to the Sistine Chapel and smelt what it's like in there. So for you to have that experience, to not just see the painting and appreciate the detail, but to have that multi-sensory experience of what it is to be in a place.
So many different things can affect it as well, like the light, the weather, your mood, everything. It's so much bigger than just looking at something.
I think before we get into the nuts and bolts of Nottingham, what did you see in Italy with an Italian guide that maybe you just wouldn't have known about as a foreigner going over, as a Brit without that background?
So I think it was the ability to wander, because when you're on holiday, you go and see the sights, you do everything, you try and get everything done, ticked off your list, and then you leave. Whereas we had the luxury of time and the year to be there, and you just wander and you find your favourite church, or you find your favourite corner with a cool little sculpture in it, and you just go back and see it again and again, and you learn to love it.
I think that's the thing about having an annual pass to a gallery, isn't it, rather than, as you say, just going for a day, so that you can spend hours, days with a painting. And I wouldn't have done that necessarily without having mates into art and a couple of people curating exhibitions at the moment, but then also coming to this class, which we'll get onto, and just recognising the amount of layers that you put into something and the brush strokes and how to get the different effects. And maybe, hopefully, next time I go to a gallery, I'll be able to pick up on some of the things that you taught.
A lot of people leave here actually saying, I'm looking at the world in a different way because I'm seeing how it was created. I'm seeing a tree and how I draw a tree, or I've seen that bird painting, and now I'm going to go and think about how I do that. And you start thinking, so you see life through a different lens, I think, when you've accessed creativity. And you also go into galleries and look at artworks and think, oh, that's all right. And then you go in with a different pair of glasses on, and you go, wow, but how did they create that? How did they do that? How did they make that fine detail? How did they create that colour? All of these questions that arise when you start thinking and looking in a different way.
For sure. I spent some time with an architect, and we were in Delft, and she kind of fixated on something I couldn't pick up on. It didn't seem like it was in this world. And, we'd had 2 or 3 pints, and so I was thinking maybe, it's taking over. But I followed her gaze and I saw her looking at a carved squirrel on the join of the bar opposite her.
Yeah.
And she's just like, nobody needed to make that.
No.
That doesn't need to be there.
No.
And
it's so cool.
Yeah.
And the detail and the level, and someone sculpted that or someone carved that, and it's just amazing, isn't it? Yeah.
So that was my first kind of introduction to looking at things properly and learning about spandrels or spandrel.
Yes. Yeah.
The spaces in between that we can use for things. Yeah.
And why not decorate them?
100%. Yeah. And
like every cathedral in the whole of the country is like, got that sort of, add a little bit there, put a bit there, embellish that. Why do we need it? Don't know, but it looks cool.
Part of me coming to your class was because I always said that I would want to learn to paint or to draw. I like writing, I've written poems. I appreciate poetry, but like I say, until I've hung out with my mates who paint, I've not necessarily appreciated painting. And the idea of sketching something, I'm not good at it. I'll use words instead. So actually there was an opportunity when you said, look, I run this school. Why don't you come along and see what it's all about? And I looked up some classes, and every nice photo that I take has a bird in it. So for you to have had the bird series, I was like, I've got no excuse now. I have to do it.
Yeah.
And part of me wanted to do it because I'm bad at it. And that's my mindset and has been for a little while. Part of the reason why I did English Lit is because it was a subject I struggled most with at college.
That's so interesting you say that, because I chose my A-levels because I wanted experience, not achievement. So, yeah.
What did you choose?
So I did art, which is what I knew that was all right. I did history because I love history, and I did German because I wanted to go to Germany.
Yeah.
And I did all right, but I didn't smash them. But I got an A in art. But I just wanted the experience of going and doing those things and learning those things. I could have done something I probably would have found easier, but at the end, I chose, and that seems to be a metaphor for my life actually. I choose the hard way round because I want to go that way and learn as I go along. And I think, like with you saying about your bird, it called to you, you wanted to do it because of that, but also you say you're not very good at it, but actually I hear that all the time. People say I'm rubbish at that. I'm awful at art. My sister was really good. My mum told me I was terrible. My art teacher was awful. I literally hear that every day that I'm in this class, and I just want to smash it because I hate hearing people say it, because I know that it's actually an experience that's been forced on them. They've not kind of proven that to themselves, that they're good or bad at it, because they've told themselves a story, and they've been told a story and they believed it. And I think it's actually about the experience of doing and creating and making. That's the important thing. And I don't know if you came away feeling like that in the class, but you seemed to be very mindful and chilled after it, and you were so into it. And I think actually that's what people come for in the end. It's that focus. She's got it all set up for me. I don't even think about it, and that's.
I think everything you said is everything that I want to get into. So the story that we're not good at things, I think we often stop allowing ourselves to make mistakes. Maybe we're discouraged from making mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Coming in for something else is definitely something that I want to pick up later on. I left feeling like, even though I wasn't an artist per se, I'd made something that I could be proud of, which is really nice. I felt a sense of calm. I also liked that I was the only guy in a room.
That is true.
Yeah, which is a lovely feeling, a completely different energy. And it was welcoming, it was warm. And maybe there's something to be said for why there aren't more men in the space. And if you could speak to that. Let's start with the narrative, because I wonder if it comes from school. I wonder if it comes from our formative years of feeling like we're not good enough, or we're not capable, or we're not creative, or we're not insert value here. Therefore, we can't be going forward. Do you think you could speak to that?
Yeah, and I do think it probably does start in school. I think there's definitely an age as well in puberty where kids go from thinking they can do anything to thinking they can't. And there's definitely a bridge there that needs to be crossed, and I think we don't acknowledge that enough. As seeing that in so many children that I taught as a teacher, you kind of go from this I can do anything, I don't care, I'm not scared, to being scared.
Yeah.
And I think that must be something like hormonal, developmental, because later on I think we all want to get that back somehow, but it seems to go missing for quite a long time, and we kind of learn ways around it as I don't know if we can mask better as we grow older, and we can go, just grin and bear it, or is it fake it till you make it thing. But I still have that. I still have imposter syndrome. I think I'm not an artist. I'm an art teacher. I just teach people how to do this stuff. I don't. I have that too. Everyone has it, I think, but it's just how you deal with it. Do you take it like you did and go, I'm not good at that, so I'm going to go and do it? Or do you go and run away? And so many people run away from it, and I think it's giving people that chance, that confidence to say it doesn't matter. Like you say, it doesn't matter if you're not good at it, if it doesn't look aesthetically amazing. It's a process. It's a process, and it's not the end product that matters.
A teacher could squash it. I know I've had quite a few teachers squash
absolutely
interests, which has been tough. Is there something wider than that schools might say, only X number of pupils can do this course or this track?
Yeah.
What tends to happen?
That might be true. And things like, stupid things like timetables that don't match, so you can't do that because you're not allowed to.
Yeah.
It doesn't mix with that. I mean, how awful is that? It's like serendipity, isn't it? It's just gone. It's done. You can't change it. Peers, say there's always that kind of, oh, you're rubbish at that, you're not very good, or he's really good at that, or she's really good at that. And that's almost, well, it wasn't my time of life. Not cool. It wasn't cool to be good at stuff. And so you push that down as well. And then you've got teachers who were rubbish or negative, or teachers that maybe, just didn't have time. I mean, I certainly saw it in schools where teachers didn't have time to talk to the kids who were really good or medium at things. They were focusing on kids with behavioural stuff or the attention seeking, stuff that we have to deal with as teachers. And it's awful. And don't get me even started on the education system. But you're overlooked. I think if you're a quiet kid or someone who just doesn't raise their head above the parapet. So I think there's a whole thing there with creativity as well. And there's the right kind of creativity and the wrong kind of creativity, because the whole curriculum is designed towards a very mechanical way of creating art. It's not very expressive. It's more about ticking boxes. And that's one of the reasons I got out of education, not the main one, but it just didn't fuel me. It didn't fill me up. So I, just don't think it's a way of generating creativity amongst young minds when you're being so prescriptive. But then the other side of it is I am quite prescriptive in how I teach, because I feel like skills are the key to learning how to do something. So my teacher taught me absolutely nothing. He got a load of shoes, chucked them on the table, got everyone to choose a shoe, draw it. No instruction, no kind of how do you shade, how do you sketch, how do you create tone, how do you create texture, how do you create laces that look like laces. There was none of that. He was just get on with it. And I think that probably happens quite a lot.
If that's one of the worst lessons you've been taught, what one of the best lessons or one of the most memorable that you picked up?
Well, when I was at uni, I don't know how I did it, but I blagged my way through the whole of my A-levels and I got really good marks. I think probably because I did have an element of talent there, and I can see why people feel like that's a reason why you've got almost like you're able to do it, so you should do it, whereas people that don't have that shouldn't be allowed. So I can sort of see how that fuels that fire. But if you're taught properly, I believe anyone can do it. That's the thing. But when I left school, went to University of Leicester, and one of my lecturers was an amazing guy. He's such a inspirational person. He was a real world expert on Matisse and Bonnard. He was a great guy, and he was like, if you want to learn about these artists, go and learn how to paint. Go and learn how to draw. So I went and enrolled on this course at an amazing place in Leicester called the Attenborough Centre. It was run by, it was set up by Richard Attenborough. Yeah. And it was just an amazing place. It was like there was just these loads of courses you could go and do for like next to nothing, because we got a student rate. It was amazing. There was lots of access to people that maybe traditionally wouldn't be involved in the arts. Like it was a whole sort of multi-sensory approach to art, people with vision impairments and disabilities. It was just an amazing place. And I went there and did loads of really good. I just did anything I could, all of it: sculpture, painting, drawing, life drawing, everything. I just did it all. I suppose I was there and did some volunteering there. I was just there all the time, and I feel like I was taught by some really amazing teachers there. And it just shows you, like, you come out of an education system that you think taught you what you need to know, and then you realise there's just so much more.
Something that you helped me with very practically was, I recognised you drawing an outline using pencil first, and then going over the pencil line. Yeah. And I think I'm so used to ideas of wrong and right and what fits and what doesn't. Yeah. We were deliberately going over and allowing colours to bleed, and that would have been a travesty for me in GCSE art, because I would have had to have started again, I think. And then recognising when we did the acrylic paint that the texture comes from very much not going anywhere near a line, that it's about breaking it and building up the layers. And I think in those 2 sessions you showed to me that it's about layers and it's about repeated strokes, rather than just one being perfect. And I wouldn't have known that until I spent time in here and watched you, and I watched the people around me just do it,
and it's not a race, it's not a competition, and no one's here to do it the best. It's just everyone, you saw how it evolved. We had a class of 10 people, and at the end we had 10 different paintings. So even though we sort of started the same and they sort of vaguely looked the same, they were all individual, and everyone has that style that just comes out, despite the fact you might not want it to. You might want to just paint like someone else. You can't. It's just there. It's really cool. Yeah.
So almost allow for what you'd think of as a mistake, or
because we always say that, look at the person next to you. Actually, we have a little trick in the class. I'll go around and take a photo of everyone's work, and at the end we'll put it on the screen and show a kind of a mixture of all of them. And no one can pick their own, which I find is really interesting. No one can see that. They have to look for quite a while to pick their own. But I always say, you wouldn't say anyone else's was rubbish, would you? You wouldn't tell anyone else in the class that theirs was rubbish.
No.
So why would you say that about yours? You can't pick yours off that screen. So you're going to pick, it's just so interesting. It's like changing your mindset. And then you see them all together and you think, oh, that's really, I really love how they've done that, or that bit's really nice, or that colour mixture's lovely. It's just so nice to see them all together at the end. And it gives everyone a bit of like a gallery moment, like they're all displayed and they look really lovely.
I think there could be a cynical tone to that, where people don't pick their own because it's almost aspirational. They pick the next best one. But the actual feeling when we were in here was that everybody was sincerely complimentary about the person next to them.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel silly or daft having my pieces next to people who've been coming to you for years. I would like to learn how to paint like them, but I know it's just through repetition. Yeah. And had I layered up just a little bit more, then maybe mine would have looked more like that.
Yeah.
But given the amount of time I put in, I walked away like proud. My mums have got a bird each, which is great. And I wouldn't have done that without you. Yeah. And I think that goes back to the good teacher bit. And people who've seen them since have gone, you sure you're not an artist? I said, no. It's about the teacher, I think. Because without you saying, would you like to come along? Have you tried doing this? Can you see what we're doing here? I wouldn't have known to even attempt it, With the gallery bit at the end, I think this is another thing, or a thing that you don't know that you're tapping into when you come to a class. It's the community element of it.
Massive,
When were you conscious of the community of art? Was it as a student? Was it as a kid? Was it much older?
I think in terms of myself, I've never really felt like I've fitted in certain areas of my life. I love the teaching community, but it's quite a negative place to be. I didn't really thrive there so much. When I left teaching, I felt like I wanted to build my own thing, and I didn't really know how that was going to go. But it happened, and when I realised, I didn't realise I'd done it until lockdown came, and I'd got regular classes running every 3 days a week or whatever in here, and everyone went, what are we going to do? We can't leave, we can't stop the art, we need it to carry on. And I was in a sort of, I don't know how this is going to work, because I'm just, in a room on my own, and I've got a Zoom, and that's how it started. I just carried on exactly the same classes. I made little kits of materials that I left on my doorstep. People come and get them, pick them up, and then we did the same classes at the same time throughout the whole of lockdown, because people wanted that community. And I think it's just that belonging to a creative and supportive place is hugely important to people. And it's so funny because a lot of those people are still coming regardless of, when it had 6 years later or whatever, it's still going.
You've already said it, and I think you'll be aware of it. Picasso talks about every child is an artist. The trick is learning how to maintain that as an adult.
Yeah.
And he said that he spent all his life learning how to paint as a child.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah.
So I would like to maybe come back to that just as an idea, because it was so close to what we just said. But with you leaving paint pots out and sets for people and enabling people to paint no matter what the circumstance was around them, you acted altruistically. And Mark Manson has this idea of hope coming from 3 elements. Altruism is one of them. Agency is another. So the sensation, experience, belief that you can do something. You have the capacity to do it. You can make your own choices. So I can pick up a pot of paint from Helen, and she has given me the time or the space or the whatever to go and do this thing. So we've got the first 2 components there. Altruism, agency, and then the last bit is community. Is that it's not just me who might be struggling. Similarly, it's not just me who wants to do this. It's not just me who wants to get better. And that is where, true belief comes from. That is where hope and faith comes from, is that it's bigger than you, but you can be in it as a participant, as a passenger, and as a community member, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And that, I love hearing, over the years, I've got to know lots of my customers, but also, newer people as well, and the stories that they tell me about why they joined and what it gave them. And I know at least 2 or 3 of my regulars who have been bereaved, and they've come to just feel part of something again because they don't know where they fit anymore. And that is such a gift that I feel like they've given me, that they know that that's been part of their journey. I just think that's incredible.
Yeah. And people almost clocked in. It sounded like a couple of people had been in for a couple of shifts earlier in the week, but shifts that they wanted to work. Whether people were retired or they were in between childcare and job, or maybe full time with work, and this is the only time they could get. That this was an opportunity to clock in and tune out almost. So you've got that positivity, the hope bit, and everybody did seem safe in this space and positive about being in this space. But then we have these other feelings coming in. We had this feeling of calm that was really nice. And I have an idea of why it might be, but from your experience, where do you think the calm comes from?
I think it's that permission to step out of your life and step into whatever this is here. I like to think it's a safe space for people just to tune out, like you say, for a bit. There's ladies in here, mostly ladies, and we haven't even touched on that, but mostly ladies come because they've got all the stuff going on. They've got kids, grandkids, their careers, they're self-employed, and they're juggling everything. And it's just, they just need that space where they can not be that for a bit. I think that's so important. And however you find it, you can do it by doing exercise. You can go and do it by, I don't know, whatever, driving, whatever it is you do that means that you can just out focus for a bit from reality, and just have that bit of peace. No one's nagging, no one's tugging at you, no one's messaging you, phone's off, that's it, it's just a quiet. We're constantly in contact, aren't we, with people all the time. I mean, that life is just, we're 100% on, devices and communicatable now, and I think just having that mindful space of however you choose to do it is massively essential for our mental health.
You used the line coming in here that I wanted a Faraday cage.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe we could make more Faraday cages then, couldn't we?
Yeah, I think it's really important.
Yeah, that we choose to lock ourselves into the not everything else.
Yeah,
whether it's painting or reading or driving, as you say. Yeah,
that's one reason I love going swimming. Because people say to me, "Oh, what kind of art do you do? What's of art?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't really do art as my relaxation anymore, because it's my job, best job in the world. Can't believe I get paid to do it. But I'll go and do something that doesn't involve any kind of exterior influence. There's a lady at the pool I met recently. She's like, "Oh, I've got these earphones. I can listen to music while I'm." I was like, oh, no, I need silence. It's my brain filing time. It's time where I just totally, I don't wear a watch. Some people wear watches in the pool. I don't want that. I just want to have my mermaid moment where I just go and be at one with water for a bit.
Yeah.
That's all I need.
I think I found that moment of letting go of the external with longer distance running.
Yeah.
And it's kind of
How far do you run?
So I'm not there at marathon distances yet, but that'll be the end of this year.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
I remember you saying you're going to you've booked a marathon, haven't you?
Yeah. So excited about that, and I'm excited to get back into those headspaces.
Yeah.
I think for me it's about 15 kilometres upwards, and all there is the feeling and the sound of your feet on road.
Yeah.
And then once you're in that, it's picking up on the temperature changes as you go past bodies of water or nearby woods, and how the smells will change. I was in North Yorkshire, so you've got farmland, you've got salt from the sea. Yeah. You might even hear a seagull while looking up at the moors. So it's a real mix of everything else that's already there. They're not electronic stimuli, it's just the environment. And when I got into that, and the metronomic aspect of the cadence, I was exactly where I was, and I couldn't listen to music. It was almost a distaste for it, like a physical. It would make me tense because it was at the wrong rhythm, no matter what pace I was going at. Whereas the sound of seagulls, the sound of a tractor, that was exactly right. And to be in that and to have access to it every week, that became addictive. And I do also wonder if there's an element of, maybe like with sauna use, with painting, with swimming, with distance running, that you become addicted to the feeling of that. It's not just the act, it's how your body is in that space. Because it's so unlike anything else. Until you feel it, I don't know if you'll ever know what we're talking about. And I want this to be inclusive, but that was my I get running now. It's not to say that I am the best runner, but I understand the practice.
And it's the same with art. You don't have to be the best painter. You just have to go and experience it and be part of it. And I have actually heard people say that before. I'm addicted to this, and I think it's not like a kind of addiction where you've got a substance or anything, but it's an addiction where you need that, the way that your body feels and the way your mind feels in that space it's amazing. That's why you do it again.
There are ideas of motivation and obsession and compulsion and discipline. And I think if you have to force yourself to do something, that might sound like you need the motivation for it. You need to be disciplined to do it. Say if you do double training days, you have to be disciplined. You've got to get up at a certain time, go to bed at a certain time, eat these things. But the reality is, for the people who are in it, they're obsessed with it. So actually the people who will outperform everyone else, they're not disciplined or motivated like you and I think necessarily. It's that, no, they wake up and they're ready to go. And when they get to the session, this is what they're going to do.
Yeah.
And I think similarly with your group, it's a case of, no, on a Tuesday or on a Friday afternoon, I'm going to go to the classroom. You can't get in my way.
Yeah.
You know, I will be there.
Yeah.
And that's not discipline. There might be a sense of motivation. I get to do this thing, but I get to do this thing. It's a privilege. It's an opportunity. It's a positive thing, you know?
You know, and I've really challenged my thoughts around luxury recently. You know, like what, if you were going to cut your budget, what would you cut from? And there's certain things that you look at it and you think, actually, which of these is actually a luxury and which is a necessity now? And, you know, I always saw my business as a bit of a frivolous luxury business, but actually I see it as a mental health tool now, which is more important than anything, I think, nowadays, because we are so, like I say, we're so connected, we're so involved all the time, that having those tools like exercise, like going to the gym, like, you know, running, whatever you choose to do, they're necessity to survive what we live in now, because it's all so full on.
Yeah. There's this idea that people will save money by living further away from the place they need to go to most often. So obviously before COVID, this would be more of a thing that you'd have people living in commuter towns in order to work in London. And people were saving £100, £200 a month. Okay, cool. But what they weren't factoring in was the 90 minutes where, you know, they were making do, but they weren't actually thriving.
Yeah.
And that 90 minutes both ways is 3 hours, 50 hours, 200. It's
just crazy, isn't it? Yeah.
You're giving your time and maybe your ability to recover and reset and do other things up for the perceived saving of it. And I think you've got to engage with the hidden costs of saving, as you say. You know, that you're cutting something, but are you cutting the right thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. And for me, time is always going to be...
It's a commodity that's... It's a luxury that's not a lot of people have, unfortunately.
No. I've had people say to me, you're lucky you don't have a car, which is a really funny line. It's a really funny line. Because obviously anybody who can afford a car, afford to run it, and it's safe is lucky, is privileged, of course. But at the same time, I see having a car as a bit of a hindrance to a lot of what my life is. Day to day, I would want to walk to my place of work if I could, because then I'm going to get basic activity in. I'm going to get a bit of sunlight in. I'm going to get, you know, normal human function in before I do the job, which I need to do to pay the bills. People forget that without the normal human function, that job is just going to result in...
Yeah, absolutely. My favourite bit of the day is, you know, when my kids first got in the primary school, they got in, I was a bit like, oh, it's a bit far away, you know, it's a bit of a walk. And it's my favourite bit now of my whole day is walking my daughter to school, because that 50 minutes is all those things, but it's my special time with her. So I'll talk and walk with her, and we often deconstruct a few things that she's got going on, or I've got going on, or, you know, whatever, or we'll talk about something we're looking forward to, but we're always chit-chatting all the way there, and it's such a, it sets me up for the day, because I've done my 50-minute walk, and then I've had my time with her, and even if the rest of the day is mad or busy or whatever I'm doing, I've had that non-negotiable.
For sure. I'm going to say something that's potentially privileged, but by virtue of being able to walk to the place and being close to the place, you have serendipity. You have the option to say yes to things that you might not otherwise be able to.
Yeah.
And I think the value of those things far outweighs whatever financial saving potentially comes up. So I knew that I wasn't going to live in London for 10 years. Therefore, the perceived bump up on what my mates are paying to live in Clapham. Actually, you know, now I live in a different city. I've made that back.
Yeah.
And I had the central London experiences. Yeah. You know, I was Cillian Murphy in 28 Days Later during lockdown. I was coming out of places looking around me and I couldn't see anyone, you know, and then I heard a growling down an alleyway and you run away from that as quickly as you can.
What was that?
But nobody else would have had that.
Yeah.
If you're living in Clapham, you just had your hedge grow a bit too long.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe you want that experience, but for me, if I'm living in a city, I want to live in the city, you know, because I won't be there forever. And that could be a long term, I won't be there forever. or it could just be a short term. I might not be there forever.
I recently went to Naples, and you could say, I don't know, you go into the city centres of places now and it almost feels like a dead zone. There's less and less there. There's shops are shut. People are, there's a lot of homeless people. It's a bit sad. And we went there and it was just like a vibrant, crazy city, but just full of life, love, culture, colour, noise, smells, all of it. People dressed in stuff, crazy stuff. And that's because the city is predominantly habited. It's got families living in it. It's got people living in above all of the shops. And it's not just a zone of purchasing stuff.
Yeah.
It's a living, breathing community. And I just thought that was so cool. I thought we need to learn a bit from that kind of culture.
Yeah. Communities, not commutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You should start a campaign.
All right, so if we're talking about serendipity and we're talking about this need to do things and the kind of feeling you can't explain of being so into an activity and everything else that people come for, I wonder if we use this as an opportunity to get into what Picasso meant. What do you think it is that adults lose? Is it like an energy or a perspective or I don't know, as an art teacher, what have you seen?
I just feel like people get serious about stuff. You leave education and then you have to work, and work becomes the thing, and then maybe your friends become the thing, and then maybe you settle down and you maybe have a family and they become the thing. And I think we lose the fun. We lose that element of fun. I mean, I don't think everyone does, but it's kind of all-consuming life, isn't it? And especially if you've got a career. I mean, my career was all consuming. For 15 years, I was a workaholic. I taught, and that was what I did. And then maybe I'd have a little bit of fun at the weekends, but that was it. I had no other time. And then when my family came along, I was doing that, plus being a mum. And that was when the cracks started to show for me, because I know I cannot do all of this stuff as well as I want to. So I'm going to have to make a change somewhere. But I guess if you get through that, I think it's a really difficult phase that you go through when your kids are little. And I'm speaking I know not everyone has children, but from personal experience, that's what I see it as. You become the mum and you become the business owner or whatever, and then that becomes it. And then at some point you've got to realise that's not sustainable. Working to live rather than living to work. It's that way round. You've got to start grappling back a bit of that time and that personal space, because you lose yourself otherwise. And I think so many people do. They lose themselves in their stuff that they have to do all the time, and they don't have that time at all for themselves. And I think it's become more of an agenda item now. People are realising that actually I do need a hobby, or I do need something else. But we don't give it the time, I think, for quite a lot of our lives when we are so consumed with the mundane.
So in a way, it's that living is the difference between an adult artist and a child artist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as children, we're encouraged to play, aren't we? Playing's fine. Playing's healthy. They're playing nicely. They're so creative. Wasn't that exciting? And then, when I tell adults that it's okay, you're allowed to scribble. You're allowed to go outside the lines. There's these rules, aren't there, that we make, or rules that someone made, I don't know, somewhere, that we think we should follow, and we don't have to.
You've already used a really important word in permission. I wonder if there's also that bit of being scared to make mistakes.
Definitely.
And that could be from school, that could be the way we were brought up, with strict parents maybe, it could be strict teachers, maybe even strict partners.
Yeah.
The perfectionist bit, the not making mistakes. Is there anything we can do about that? Like I say, you really helped me to paint outside the lines, but I didn't even realise how much of a thing that would be for our class, you know, that it was essential almost for the work we were doing.
I think sometimes you have to feel, you know, it's a cliche, but you feel the fear and do it anyway. You know, that doing something that may be out of your comfort zone, that teaches you that actually it's, if it goes wrong, you know, what's the worst that's going to happen? It's not always, you know, it doesn't have to be a big risky thing. I always say to people, what's the worst that's going to happen? You just maybe hide that at the back of your folder. It's not the end of the world, is it? Or in whatever circumstance, you're just trying something new, putting yourself out your comfort zone. I had a class last week, they're cursing me because I gave them the paint that they don't like, and we were working on something. It's actually up there, it's pretty nice, that little shell. And everyone was finding it difficult, and I was like, you've just got to go with it, it will be all right, you know. And at the end we had the gallery moment, you know, everyone was amazed by it, and it's like you just got to trust it's going to be okay. And if it isn't okay, what's the worst that's going to happen? I mean, I'm just planning a trip with my kids. We're going interrailing in the summer.
Wow.
Because I've felt I've been so safe for so long, I've been kept in my comfort zone for so long personally, that I'm now starting to do some stuff that I never would have done, you know, before. Maybe I had a 10-year safe zone, I think, where I was like, no, I'm not doing that. No. That's too dangerous, or I might mess it up, or it might go wrong. Now I'm having a play and going out that comfort zone and giving myself permission to do some stuff that maybe isn't what I would have done before.
Was the zip line a part of that?
Yeah, I did do a zip line a couple of years ago, and my friend of mine invited us to go to France for a week, and they live in the Alps, and it was beautiful weather in June, and the day we went it started to rain. And we were like, we're going to go and do some stuff, and it took us to this amazing zip line which went across a valley in the Alps. And yeah, we were sort of strapped into this thing. It was a bit like soup, you know, you were sort of lying down going across this valley, and I just my memory of it was, oh my God, what am I doing? But I've got these goggles on that were shielding my eyes from the ice crystal because it was raining. And it was one of those moments you think, I'm so glad I did that. I'm so glad I did that. And then last summer we went to Greece, and I jumped off a boat, which I never would have done. The kids jumped off the boat. They followed me. They were like, yeah, you can do it, Mum, we're going to do it. I think there's something really important in that, like going out your comfort zone, showing that risk is okay. It's okay. Yeah. As long as you kind of do it safely. Safe risk, if that makes sense.
For sure. Where's top of your list?
We're going to go through Europe. So we're going to stay with a friend of mine who lives on an island in between Sweden and Denmark. So we're going all the way up on the train.
That'll be so good.
Stop-offs. Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be great. And we've been watching Race Across the World, so the kids are obsessed with going on trains and, you know, going on the train under the sea. They're very excited about that.
It'll be amazing. Don't let my mum watch this episode, though. She keeps on going on about when we do Race Across the... No.
Oh, yeah, you should. You so should.
Did you know that each episode of Fitness and Thinking takes about 10 hours to put together? If you've enjoyed them, then I've got a favour to ask of you. It's not your money. It is just a second to like what you like. Maybe a couple of seconds to leave a comment on what you enjoyed, what you changed, what you might have asked the guests, and maybe to ask me to bring on somebody or to discuss a topic that you're interested in. The last thing is to subscribe if you haven't already. That could be a massive sign to all those algorithms that you are interested in what Fitness and Thinking is all about.
I'm very practical. I'm all about getting hands-on. Don't let anyone sit and do nothing. It's just, I don't see what the point is in that. Sure. Because that takes away from that kind of, well, let's watch and learn and then maybe I'll try. To me, that's not learning. That's trying to get all your kind of theory done before you do it. And I'm all about kinesthetic learning and getting your hands on it and trying it, seeing what it feels like. Because you might see someone do something and then you pick up the implement and you give it a go and it doesn't feel like how you thought it would feel. Maybe you like it more, maybe you like it less, but how do you know unless you try it?
Yeah.
I always think banishing the blank page is a big thing of mine. So people are often really scared of looking at a piece of paper that's not got nothing on it. And even if you just do a little scribble or something that just stops that from being scary. And I think that's where metaphorically I can hold their hand through creating a process. Because you don't have to make the best thing you've ever made, but it's all about just making a start. And I think that's really key. Is trying to do something. And I always say to people, don't throw anything away. Don't like dismiss it as a rubbish bit of whatever. Try and keep it as a learning, because you'll either come back to it later and go. And we always have a joke in the class about by 5 o'clock I'll like it, because you've had that distance from it. You've been so centred in on looking at it for all that time that you actually need a break from it. You've become emotionally entangled with it, and then coming away from it, you have a bit of a little mini holiday from it, and then you come back and you go, oh, that's actually not too bad. Or or comparing it to something else you've done down the line, you might think I've made progress, or I've become more confident, or I've learned how to use colour better, and I think it's all part of the process. We're too scared to, like you say, make mistakes. Don't see it as a mistake. It's a journey. It's a journey through learning what you like and don't like.
What do you think it is about your classes that brings people back?
I think I give people a safe space.
Yeah.
I don't always. Like Friday was an example where I made people do things they weren't entirely comfortable with, but actually the end result was amazing. And it's almost like I would say you have to trust me a little bit here. And I think maybe that's the mutual trust of knowing that they've got to trust me, but I've got to also trust them to turn up every week, to give it a go, to be, positive about it. And not always positive, but, they come around to the idea that it's, it's more than just making something nice. It's about totally going out your zone.
Yeah. The discomfort is what comes up across disciplines. Is that if you really want to be good at something, you're going to have to feel uncomfortable at some point.
Yeah. But then, are people here for that? I don't know. Are people here to get better? I don't think so. I think people are ultimately here to be part of something bigger than themselves, and that's nice.
Conspicuous in their absence, people are men.
Yeah.
What's happening there, do you think?
I'm not sure. I mean, my kind of, if I go in a completely business way, my target market is women who are of a certain age, like me, really, who are me and older, who've busy mums, had a lot going on, and they just want to come and chill.
Yeah.
And that's probably, you attract like-minded people. I think that's probably where it comes from. I do get quite a lot of men coming to certainly one-off classes. So let's say I put a drawing class on, or a landscape class or something like that. I tend to get a lot more men in those kind of things, and maybe they can give that time for one session, and then maybe they'll go on to do something else. Or I tend to find, and I'm totally generalising here, but I tend to find men come to want to get equipped with the skill and then go away and do it. Whereas women come here for the women to talk to and be part of, a group. So there must be something in that somewhere that, women tend to come together and form a community. We have to stick together, don't we? So.
I wonder then if this comes back to the purpose point, that for men to come to one-off things, and as you say, men do come to it, and I've only been to 2 of your classes, hopefully I'll come to a few more. It's just finding the time for it. But I'm not in the community necessarily like your women are who come every single week. I think, speaking as a man, there is this need to acquire skills, to be good at something, the want to learn, and maybe put back into the world. But it's quite solipsistic sometimes, that experience of being a man, of acquiring the skill, the resources or whatever, and maybe feeling like without the talent, without the resources to give to other people, that your purpose might not be there. It's that classic thing of being the provider. if you can't provide, then why would you do it? And I think it's also why you have salsa classes that are mostly women.
Yeah.
Because men are expected to lead, but if you don't have the ability, then that's going to be off-putting.
Yeah.
Whereas actually, if you don't make the mistakes, you won't have the ability.
Yeah.
I think you kind of need to get over yourself and trust that, particularly if you're in a group of supportive women, as my experience, that you will get better.
Yeah.
But
and they miss you, by the way.
Honestly, the story that was weaved, like from the group, was amazing. So we were talking about we had people turned into the kingfisher and the fish, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the wren, the king of birds. So strange. All the stories that came from that. Yeah.
Yeah, and
you do have a storyteller in that group.
There's a storyteller, but then the group experience of that was really nice and completely unexpected. I think you put multiple men into a room and there's a job to do.
Yeah.
The job gets done, and then maybe as a result of looking at this thing. So there's an example in an Australian psychological study of men opening up about their mental health easier or more easily when they were working on a lawnmower together. Yeah. So like fixing things.
Yeah.
So maybe the proxy of something broken that you fix together is a way for men to feel like they could help each other out.
And there's a thing about walking, isn't there, side by side. If you're walking side by side with someone, you're more likely to talk to them about more personal, sensitive stuff than if you're looking right at them.
But interestingly, we started off this way because we were classroom. Yeah. And you and I both said, can we turn our chairs in? Yeah, because we wanted a conversation. Yeah. And I think this is more typical of a women's group than a men's one. Yeah. Yeah, really interesting. So that sense of purpose, that sense of having to produce something and being scared almost, it's two sides of it. I think some people would be put off an art class because they have to produce an artwork. Yeah. And others will be put off because of that feeling maybe that all they do is produce and maybe just to take a break.
Yeah. Some people come and they say, can I take this home? That's what they've done. Yeah, of course you can. It's yours. I gift it to you. You know, you're here for that. Yeah. But they don't realise that that's their product. That's what they did.
For sure. And the apologies as well. I think you tapped into that a little bit. I had somebody apologise to me yesterday at a circuit class. They said, I come to the gym all the time and I exercise. I've never been to a class before. I'm really sorry. I'm just saying, we've got 10 minutes before the class starts. Why are you apologising? Like, what do you need to know?
Yeah.
Why are you here? Yeah. What do you hope to get from this? If you approach it with I've not done this, what can I do? Or what can I be? Or what can I hope to get?
Yeah.
Rather than that negative or back foot, I apologise for my presence. That's got to come from somewhere else. And obviously I would like to help people with that. But just trust if you're new to something and there's a teacher there, that the teacher wants to help.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you do with apologists? How do you handle it?
I don't know. I just sort of say it's fine. It's fine. It's okay. It's all right. It's almost okay to do that. I mean, everyone's welcome in whatever form. What's nice though is when you see a journey happen to that person, that they're apologising because they obviously feel like they are lacking somewhere, or they're getting in the way, or they're almost like it's sort of people that feel like they're taking up the space somehow. But I suppose it's that trust and that mutual respect of you have every right to be here. That's fine, and it doesn't matter what you've done and how good you are or anything like that. It's not about that. It's about everyone has the chance to learn and be valued.
Sure.
Yeah.
There's a bravery element, isn't there? So you've already discussed bravery in kind of stepping out of your comfort zone. I think there's a bravery going to a class as a new person. If you don't know anyone, you don't know what to expect. Certainly yesterday, like, this person was worried about different movements that they were going to do. But as much as I could, I coached them through it. And by the end of it, well, you couldn't have guessed that they were newer than anyone else.
Yeah.
The choosing to do things that are scary, choosing to do things that are outside of your comfort zone. You said you had your 10-year period. Do you kind of wish that it hadn't been 10 years? How would you redress that if you could? Or what would you tell younger you with what you know?
I think you have to be that person. I think you have to live through that period to become the person that you become. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I try I try to live my life without any regrets, because I think if I did say all that 10 safe years I had, that 10 safe years was me being a mum and being protective and protecting myself almost. But then part of that was me doing this. So, you know, when I was teaching, that was what I knew, that informed this now. I've got a great work ethic because of those years I spent. It was hard, and for quite a long time, when I came out of that environment, I was still living in that. That's how I need to work, and it took me a long time to unpick that from my brain. So I think as well, I was certainly brought up in an age where you have a career and that's your career. That's what my parents, you know, instilled in me. You become a teacher, you're a teacher forever, you know, and you have a teaching job forever. And I think 30-year-old me would say that's not true. You can break out of that when you want. And I think it is more relevant now anyway. I think everyone will need to have multiple streams to their life. You know, you need to. You can't just stay in one thing. Life's changing all the time. Like, society's changing, the world's changing, the world of work's changing, and I think we're going to all have to become more progressive in that way and looking outside of our path, you know, that we think has been designated. And I think there's a big burnout culture now. You know, people just cannot carry on working in the same way that they have worked for the last 10, 20 years. I just don't think it's possible anymore.
I think that makes a lot of sense. And in my family, you know, talk of redundancies, being let go from factories, offices and all of this, that happened to people kind of in their late 40s and 50s. I was made redundant at 30. You know, it has changed. You don't have these incumbent jobs as often. There are some that are maybe more stable, but to go through something that my 50-year-old relatives were going through and to figure out what comes next and that kind of restart and reinvention.
And I think that's where creativity comes in, because we think of creativity as creating something, you know, a thing, or you know, making a pretty picture or whatever. But actually creativity is about life and actually seeing the avenues and opportunities and the relationships that you can make. And I'm not saying that in like a devious way. I'm going to become friends with you because you do a great podcast. You know, I think you're kind of naturally drawn towards people that are equally creative, and that feeds your creativity even more. You kind of draw to those people. You're drawn to new opportunities, you know, exciting stuff. You naturally, I think, if you're creative in the whole world of AI and everything that's coming or here, you've got to be creative. I think it's a massive advantage if you're a creative type. Yeah,
maybe there's still like an element of demystifying who can do art.
Yeah.
You know?
And by creativity, I don't mean art. I mean being open to opportunities that are out there and exploring different avenues. Because, well, for instance, my sister was an engineer and she was always sort of labelled as the sciencey one. She was good at, you know, that stuff. And I was like the creative, you know, people-y one. And now she's a garden designer and I run 3 businesses, you know, and it's like, actually, that you know, the being pigeonholed into that is not helpful to anyone. And it's great that you know, maybe a doctor has an amazing art ability as well, because you shouldn't be pigeonholed into anything. And I think that's the thing about being creative. Anyone can be creative, but you just have to be open to looking at what's out there, rather than just saying, well, I'm an arty person, so I'm just going to do art and that's it. You know, you've got to be a little bit more wide with your thought process.
I just wonder if there's like a positivity bit further to what we've just said, that anybody can be creative.
Yeah.
That creativity is kind of a discipline, as in all one word there, that you could be creative in business. There are certainly many creative accountants.
Yeah.
That creativity could be a practice or it could be a way of approaching your life. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
As a source of inspiration for you, you've mentioned to me your mum. and obviously your relationship with your kids. Do you feel that there's some creativity in that legacy? Or
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. How would you speak to that?
So I always loved what my mum gave me a gift, which was that she was there, she was present, and she was super creative, but she was also a bit like me. She was a trainer for John Lewis. So she had a career, and then she kind of changed things around when we came along, me and my sister, and then she had some creative businesses as well. And she set up a business teaching kids gymnastics, which was so random, but it was like part of what we were into. So my mum just like changed her life round to suit that. So she started a business that something she'd got literally no experience in, but I mean, how brave was that? And it was also really really sensible thing to do, because she was spending quite a lot of time with us doing gymnastics. So why not turn that into something that actually she enjoyed doing with us too? And then that became, it's still running, like, 40 years later. The business is still going. My mum passed away when we were quite young, so when we were in our 20s, so me and my sister, I've always sort of been so grateful for that time that we had with her, because she gave us that gift of time. We never felt like she wasn't around, or I mean, she was a very busy lady, and sometimes she was quite busy, and I kind of think, oh, it would have been lovely to have a bit more time with her, but unfortunately she passed away, and it informed my decision to be a present mum as well, so I knew if I'd carried on in my career as a teacher, I wouldn't have been able to take my kids to school, I wouldn't have been able to pick them up from school, I wouldn't have been able to go to the school plays or sports days or any of that stuff. I know that it wouldn't have been the life I wanted to live. So I made a really conscious decision, maybe unconsciously conscious, because I didn't really know why at the time. All I knew was that I wasn't coping in the things I wanted to be really good at. So I had to turn things around to make sure that I was a present mum for my kids, and that I had something that enabled me, like a vehicle to do that. And it somehow turned out to be like the best decision I've ever made, because I teach people how to be creative all the time now, but without that marking. I hated marking and parents' evenings, stuff like that, but I feel like I've done that for my kids as well. So I've made a consciously unconscious choice to be present, to make the most of the minutes I've got in my life, because they slip away.
Yeah. How do you encourage your kids to be present? Do you feel like it's something that you have to encourage, or are they maybe just by virtue of the example you lead?
I think, every day, so I'm looking at the clock, because I know my daughter will be home in a bit, and I'll be there. I'll be there to have a chat, debrief her. It's a bit like my younger daughter, where I walk her to school every day. We have that chat. I have a chat with them every day, about stuff we eat together. We have lovely days out. I enjoy my kids' company, and they enjoy mine. I think that's a real gift, because we really have a nice time together, and we have a laugh, and I think that's what I've done. That's what I've created with them.
Yeah. I think, given the regular contact you've got, I probably undervalued the time with my mum relative to the time I had with my dad when they were first splitting up. I talked recently about the Tuesday night theory, that you'd have that 1 day in the week with a parent, and that day would stand out more than the 6 days, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And similarly, I would love spending time with my mum's sisters and with my uncle, and with later on my stepmom and her family. I think in part because it was a day, or it was a afternoon and afternoon, rather than necessarily the everything else of living,
yeah,
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I could have been more present. Now, I'm not going to beat myself up for being a kid who wasn't aware of mindfulness practice.
No, exactly. You can't.
But recognising that now, you know, I know how much it means to my mum when I go back and see her. And I went up and I made a dinner and then came back the next day. I know that was appreciated. But at the same time, I appreciated that I could have done more. I didn't. This is an opportunity. So maybe that's how I try and reframe it. That when I'm conscious of things just going 100 miles an hour, making time to have time. It's the Faraday cage, I guess. Yeah. Just making sure that if you're conscious of those moments that you cherish not being there, like, how do you make them? And it's fine that you make them, because otherwise, where are they going to come from, you know? Sometimes it's serendipity, but I think a lot of the time we just actually have to make the time.
And we were saying at the beginning, before we were recording, about how actually just doing simple stuff, like sitting in the garden with friends, or, you know, I was telling you, I went to Avebury Stone Circle last weekend, and we were stood looking at the stones. We had challenged ourselves to a 2-minute look, and we had to all focus in on like a bit and then let our minds go with it, and then we all talked about it afterwards. And it was absolutely fascinating what me, the girls, and one of my best friends, Claire, what we all said. We all went off in, you know, different directions, and it was so weird. It was like brought up memories and hopes and, you know, all this unexpected things that pop into your head when you're actually just taking the time to take time.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
A nice frame that I've been given recently is that these are the golden years. There's no point looking back and saying it was better then.
No.
If you have an opportunity to make now what it is, you know?
Yeah.
So I like that. And I really did appreciate you saying that you enjoyed sitting in the garden, because I will enjoy, even though it's a bit windy today, spending time with my housemates in the garden, with the pool. You know, there's just this sense of we've made something and we can enjoy it. Side of people sitting in their own gardens and making time, where would you like to send people from here?
Okay, yeah, so you're saying about my sort of altruistic side. I believe that art's for everybody, and I do think that you can carve out a little bit of space and time at home to do it. So I do have an online membership, which I can give you the details of, but it's at createartschool.co.uk. It's called the Art Hub, and it's a lovely little carving out time, a couple of times a month, where you can do a little class at home and just lose yourself time for time. In your own world for a bit. Amazing.
All right, thank you for, we'll say it one more time, making the time.
I know, that's the phrase now.
Yeah, I appreciate just being able to chat and stretch out into ideas like we have.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
It's always snot for me as well. Like, I always worry that I've got like little bits in my tash, or just like that you can see that they can't. So just let me know if that's. Yeah. Okay.